And now it's Renovate and Build. 60 minutes dedicated to building and renovating solutions. Here's your hosts, Jim and Sandra.
Good morning and welcome to the show. My name is Sandra Lummis and I'd like to introduce you to Fair Trade Works founder and president, Jim Perkins. Morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Good week.
Fantastic week here and out of province in Ontario. What have we got to update you with? On the ground in Ontario, things are really moving ahead with our resort property out there, large development. We've kind of given the big green light to our hired consultants, our architects, and doing our geological studies, our boat impact studies, our traffic studies. So things are really starting to drive forward there, and we're really actually trying to race to get a bunch of stuff done before. Of course, we don't think about it so much this time of year here in Vancouver, but seasons are changing over there, and with that snowfall we had several weeks ago now back in Calgary, it's kind of front of mind. So we're really charging forward to get to our rezoning stage and getting all our studies in place so we can start to formally submit our rezoning, which is super exciting. So then we can kind of work on all the paper crunching and all the red tape through the winter time, and then hopefully bounce out into the new year, really driving towards our building permit. So that's full of excitement out Ontario soil. Here in Vancouver, as you know, because we are so everywhere all over the city, we market fairly heavily. Lots of interesting projects come through on a weekly basis. This week, for example, we have had, we signed a deal with the organic produce company Spud. And,
oh, yes.
Yeah, you know Spud.
Yeah.
They are actually opening their
flagship
store on the west side on West First. So we just signed contracts to design and build their first flagship location. So that's a lot of fun, kind of binding with another BC local brand and
delivering fresh products to your door in blue bins. Fantastic.
Well, this
service.
is actually this one actually they're going to actually have a bike service. They have specially designed bikes. They're actually going to have the baskets on, and they're going to be delivering sandwiches, coffee, everything.
Wow.
And it's all going to be their new stores are going to be dotted all through the city, and they're going to be delivering by bike. So this is the first store of maybe 3 or 4 more to come. They're looking for more locations. So
innovative.
Very fun, yeah. So we got that. We signed a deal with Mr. Eric Cohen from the Cohen family. He's, if you've heard of that gentleman, he's a very well-known antiques dealer in the city, and he's had a old bank building down on East Pender, or West Pender, get that right, West Pender, for several years now. We just finally got permits, and he's actually turning that into a huge banquet hall for weddings and ceremonies and all that kind of thing. So it's this gorgeous building. He actually bought the building for the stained glass window in the top, and it's just this gorgeous space. So we're very privileged to be involved in working alongside Eric to kind of put that thing to fruition and get that to life. And I know he's already getting tons of bookings, so he's really anxious to get that thing built. We met with Russell Brewing Company out in Surrey. They've been a fairly well-established brewing company and well-known name, household name in British Columbia for quite some time now. So due to demand, they're expanding their headquarters. So we just met with them last week, and we're now in the designing stage of their expansion and be building that. So extremely fortunate to be working with Russell Brewing. And then again, just the old Rosemary still plodding along, several new home constructions on the west side, a whole bunch of renovations, a commercial office space in Burnaby at Boundary there, where we're working with the purchaser of the building. He just closed a removed subject, so he has an extremely aggressive timeline to renovate that commercial space into office building. So yeah, I could go on and on. Just lots of really diverse, interesting, fun, great people, great clients, and just having lots of fun building.
Now I know why the advisors have been running in and out of the office.
They literally have. We just brought on some new advisors for demand, and we as you know, we interview very heavily to get the right fit for our team, and it's really rewarding to have the demand coming in and then be able to service that with good people. So.
Well, for those of you who don't know our Fair Trade Works company and how it works, we have, of course, our front-end advisors who are out serving our clients, and then we have our client care team in the office. And we've been busy this week, mainly trying to tidy things up after the summer, of course, and lots of events. We had lots of things, just needed general organization. And one of my jobs in the communications department is to read multiple papers a day and magazines, making sure we stay up to date and current on any of the recent construction and development right across Canada. And Jim, I've got to tell you, going through my Toronto file and going through some of the facts and figures, I felt I had to share, even though this is a different province, but just because of our development there and because I really think it states a lot about what you've been focusing on in other shows, and that is that our little country is growing up very quickly, whether we like it or not. And some of the facts that I found in this one article, specifically that I brought with me, that Toronto Council approved 755 stories of development, and guess how many days? 755 stories of development. That works out to 6,887 new units, $21 billion in construction.
Yeah.
And how fast did that city council approve that construction?
Unbelievable. They're progressive. But even that's
3 days.
I know,
3 days.
but 755 stories, that also tells you what that construction is too. That's all downtown condominium high-rise stuff, right? So that doesn't even account for single-family homes or any other development commercial stuff going on. You know, and I know, Stanza, you're a stat freak, but it's so important for people, because people have conversations, oh, that we're growing with this and that, but actually to look at the stats, it's staggering. And then to be on the ground, actually in Toronto, you know, we travel there a bit for the development, et cetera, being on the ground in Toronto, you realize exactly what is going on. Every single street corner has a crane, has a tower, roads are shut down. It's just, you know, it's a construction frenzy, and it is staggering. And it's funny because people always say, do the doom and gloom 3, 4, 5 years ago, Toronto has a surplus of condos, the bubbles are going to break, and that was 5 years ago. And look at these figures here. It's just relentless. And even, you know, we deal with clients looking for homes or looking to invest, and even we take them out there in the Vancouver markets, and I'd say Toronto is very similar, but you think there's so much availability, but there's even a lack of inventory. There's not that much to show them, right? So you put those two things together, extreme development, but also then saying that you take people into the marketplace and there's not much to choose from, then, you know, we know that it hasn't come to an end yet, and I just don't see it stopping. So,
well, one of the city councillors in Toronto said this is going to be, and I quote, a very different city in 20 years when all of these developments are built that we just approved in the last 3 days. Now, you and I, Jim, know that the skyline of Vancouver has changed. We always talk about it in the last however many years. But for me, heading back to Toronto, my hometown or my own province, I actually don't recognize often when we're flying in the skyline anymore. Like, I used to be able to drive up the 401 and know exactly where I was going just by the skyline itself. Yeah. And it's not that way anymore.
That's changing quick.
Yeah, and when you and I were walking down Bay Street the last visit there, I couldn't believe that there is hardly a building on a street corner, as you mentioned, that isn't in some kind of development phase or, you know, refurbishment. Everything is taking place all at the same time.
Yeah, we're in the lawyer's office there, and, you know, he said, we were commenting how lovely his office was. You know, he's just like, well, it used to be a lot better. Even 5 years ago, he said we used to be able to see CN Tower, so-and-so, and now it's literally these buildings are being crammed in there. The high-rise is going up, and they've lost their view, right? It's literally just bursting out of the ground, and well,
some people are calling it Manhattanization of their downtown core, because apparently there are 7 office towers right now under construction, which represent 7% of the existing market. So that pace is only outrivaled by Calgary right now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I can't believe, you know, they're saying they're moving more and more people out of some of the buildings, but yet the density is actually increasing in the downtown core, apparently 4 times faster than the rest of the city.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So what's going to happen with the downtown core? You know, they're fighting for transit, and we have to learn from this as we look to Vancouver. And
absolutely, the infrastructure. You know, I'm involved with the city of Vancouver with infrastructure upgrades and underground servicing, because I know for a fact from digging underground and being in tune with what's going on underground, it's just absolutely at capacity. You know, even cities like New West, like we've uncovered water services in US that are actually the old wood pipe with coils around them. Like it's just absolutely prehistoric, and it's like homeowners, they were, oh, just we'll ignore that, we'll ignore that, until we've had restoration cases on some streets in Vancouver where 10-20 homes have been flooded from the backup from the infrastructure of the underground services, right? We're at capacity, and of course everything gets left to the last minute and funding gets in place, and now we're trying to catch up to keeping up with the with the development demand. Imagine all these little homes on a street, and then all of a sudden they're all developed, and they used to go from a single bathroom or 2 bathrooms to now 6 bathrooms. Like right. All that extra movement into the underground services is crazy. And of course there's traffic problems and roads and bridges, and, you know, again, we go on the beach in Vancouver, but drive out to Surrey, drive around, like there's highways being built, there's roads being built. It's just the infrastructure that's driven off the development alone is, again, another multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's just incredible.
Well, you're talking about just the change in where people want to live even. I know that in the Vancouver Sun there was recently an opinion article done on millennials. You know, they're those kids from 18 to 33 that right now are influencing what our future is going to look like. Because a lot of those kids you've talked about before don't have the same even values that we do. You know, I know a rite of passage growing up was to drive and get your driver's license as soon as you became legally able to, or to get a car as soon as you can. A lot of these kids, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not going to be driving out to the burbs anyways. I want to live in the downtown core. I want to work here. Transit is more important to me than what was important to you. So that really changes our whole view in construction and development as to what these kids are going to want as adults, you know, in contributing to their workplace and our community.
Yeah, it's true. And like, yeah, what they expect, what they want, like whether they travel, they see different kind of cultures or lifestyles and just adopt from that. And yeah, you're absolutely right. They don't want a car. Maybe they don't want a car. Maybe they don't want to have land and a fence and a gardener and something to cut the grass. Like that's that generation you spoke of just wants to live and, you know, watch of the environment, car share, carpool, be close to a museum, you know, and that kind of mindset is absolutely going to change the way we live. And I think they're really going to adopt the density too. Like they're going to have no problems with living in smaller spaces and living downtown and commuting everywhere and job share and flex hours and all these things. And it's just going to, even the migration through the infrastructure, like the old generation before that ever gets up at 8 o'clock in the morning and drives to work and then works all day and drives home, all on the same traffic pattern and all these different things. And things are just changing so rapidly, and people are working overseas. They're working on different time zones. They're, you know, it's people are working from home. So it's that urban planning is obviously they need to be in tune with what this generation want and expect, and what it's going to change the face of development in Canada and globally moving forward. So it's just unbelievably interesting. And also Canada, you know, let's admit it, we're a wee bit behind on certain things, and some of the stuff we're doing in Vancouver or Toronto is stuff that was adopted globally, you know, 5-10 years ago. So I think we really need to look to the world kind of urban planning, and I think we need to adopt from some of that stuff to and look at similar cities that are landlocked, that have ocean, water, bridges, tunnels, and see the solutions they've had. And you know, I grew up in England, London. There's overpasses in the city. There's underground railway tracks. There's you name it, subway systems. In Vancouver, you know, let's be honest, it's booming. I think we need to start thinking about that. Like from the east side, there's one Grandview Highway to 12th Avenue. There's one road coming into the CBD. It's just from North and West Vancouver in traffic. There's one lane open, right? It's
Right.
just.
Well, Marcus Moos, he's actually teaches urban planning at University of Waterloo, and I know he's opened some of the discussion here with some really good talks for people to go through to that were free in a recent visit, and just saying, you're right, we have to think like this, we have to learn from other cities, but also, once again, paying attention to the next future. So we're not just developing for the sake of developing for the people that are driving right now or living right now, but for that next generation coming in. And what they think about it, because it's going to be the next biggest generation compared to the baby boomers. So they're going to have a lot of money, and they're going to have a lot of wishes, because you know, they've had everything fast, right?
Yeah, and drive that with construction costs and land values and all those things. Yeah, I just don't think we're being smart. Even, you know, like we discussed before on the show, like buying this hugely expensive land, throwing up these houses for cheap. They're going to last 5 years and be knocked down again. I don't think there's kind of I don't think there's any really savvy kind of forward-thinking planning on that kind of single-family home market. So it's and as a member of the construction industry, I'm certainly trying to stay in tune with this and hopefully be a part of that new generation. And that's what Fair Trade Works and Jim Perkins is all about, is the new generation of smart construction and smart thinking. So I think I'm privileged and excited to be able to be a part of that.
It's a good challenge, isn't it?
Oh, it's a career, and it's unbelievably challenging. Yeah.
Well, lots of great information to share with you today on Renovate and Build. We've got the latest in wall and floor tiles from Spain. Ashley Kitchen from Fawn Tile will be sharing her company's latest ceramic and porcelain products. Oh, Jim, those beautiful large format beauties. It's hard to get me away from Ashley and her tiles.
Very popular. And Meg and Gary will be with us on their recommendations of the latest 4K TVs from your home. That's on Product Face Off today.
And if you don't want to fall into the stress trap with high house prices damaging your retirement funds, don't miss our interview with Tony Ionetti this hour. He'll be sharing some smart ideas with us, and at the same time reminding us that the obvious use of cash is not always the best use of cash.
Yeah, Tony's always got some great advice, and Tony's our cash man. And throughout the show, we'll be continually telling you how you can share your questions and ideas, because we really love to interact with our listeners, as you know. So,
well, Central One Credit Union is forecasting the median price for a Vancouver detached home to hit $820,000 this year. That's a 15% increase over last year. What do these numbers mean to lenders?
And stay right where you are. We'll find out from Tony Ionetti from Mortgage Matches DLC right after these messages.
There's still lots more ahead. This is Renovate and Build, powered by Fair Trade Works with Jim and Sandra.